Good afternoon, People Summit. Please welcome Van Jones.
Hello. Usually when I have a microphone and an audience these days, there's usually a Trump supporter to my left and a Trump supporter to my right, but I don't have that today, and hallelujah, I can just talk. Oh, hallelujah. I can just talk. I don't have to argue with nobody. Oh, it's good. I didn't play that video to depress you, though it is depressing. And I didn't play the video to get you angry, though it's certainly enraging. And I didn't just show the video to show you how amazing my predictive powers are, though they are amazing, I must say. I posted that video a year ago. 1 year ago. And like most of you here, I was aware, very much aware, that the status quo in the country was completely unacceptable and that we were going to need very, very strong medicine, and that if we didn't offer that, the country could go in a bad direction. And I want to acknowledge that for many of you here, there's a lot of pain in this room. The last time most of us, or most of you were in a room this big with this many people, there was a dream within grasp. There was a dream within grasp. And now we somehow find ourselves living in a nightmare. And I want to acknowledge that I played that video both as to honor you and to honor what you were trying to stop, but also as a warning about conventional wisdom, and about how when everybody begins to think one way, that's when you're most vulnerable. So I think there's some conventional wisdom that is settled in now with us. And I want to try to raise some issues that are tough to raise. But if we don't start talking honestly now about where we are now as a movement, we'll have another nightmare in 4 years, another nightmare in 4 years after that. And we have to avoid that at all costs. So, I love the truth, even when it's messy. So let me just get down to a couple of truths here. Number one, we've been tricked into fighting among ourselves over the wrong issue. They've been keeping this thing going among us on the left. Should we focus on people of color? Should we focus on racial justice? Should we focus on African Americans and Latinos and the rising majority? Or should we instead focus on the white working class? Should we focus on those industrial workers who've been left behind? This is the stupidest false choice that I have ever heard. It's stupid. First of all, I don't mean to be rude, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but the people who ran the Hillary Clinton campaign did not spend their money on white workers, and they did not spend their money on people of color. They spent it on themselves. They spent it on themselves. Let's be honest. They took $1 billion, and set it on fire and called it a campaign. That wasn't a campaign. That's not a campaign. $1 billion for consultants. $1 billion for pollsters. $1 billion for a data operation that was run by data dummies who couldn't figure out that maybe folks in Michigan needed to be organized. That wasn't a campaign. It was a boondoggle. And now they want us to fight about whether black folks or white workers or Latinos or any other group should get the money. First of all, you need to give the money back to the people, period. That's where we gotta start. Start with that. Start with that. Quit getting rich off people's struggles. Now, again, like I said, I don't mean to be rude. But you never get the right answer if you don't ask the right question. So what's the right question? It takes a lot to get enough power to win an election and to govern. It takes a lot. You have to get a lot of things right. Let's talk about the racial justice side of this. We do have people who are very concerned that if we overemphasize African American issues, just to take one, it may alienate some people. Let me explain to you how we feel on the other side hearing that. I'll get to your good points, but just hear me out. The African American community has been asked to shoulder a burden for the entire progressive cause. We are the core vote for the Democratic Party, which means that, don't clap yet, I'm just talking from my heart, I'll clap later. But we're the core vote. No other part of the Democratic coalition is expected to give not 50, not 60, not 70, not 80, not 90, but 92% of our vote to the Democratic Party so they can even have the chance to win. We have to have almost unanimous support and stand in long lines, deliberately engineered against us. We got to go to court every time just to go and vote. And we vote 90 to 92% for Democrats, which means if you are for women's choice, your core vote is the black vote. Because black people elect Democrats and Democrats defend women's rights to choose. So when they attack us, they are attacking women's rights to choose. If you are for the environment, you may think, well, my core vote are people who eat granola and drive Priuses and listen to NPR. No, that's a part of your vote, but your core vote is the black vote. Because black people elect Democrats, and Democrats support the environment. And so, when you have a community that has to throw itself on hand grenades to give you the opportunity to pass anything, and by the way, I'd like to just say one thing that I don't think has been commented on enough. African American men, black men, who are almost always vilified, when the choice came, 9 out of 10 of us voted for a woman to be the commander-in-chief of the United States of America. 87%. 9 out of 10 black men who voted were willing to have a woman in charge. Less than half of white women have that view. That's the truth. I love the truth even when it's messy. But black men were more supportive of Hillary Clinton than white women. And yet, when we're being gunned down in the streets, when our bodies are filling up the prisons, people will tell us, that's not my issue. That's not my issue. And there is an argument to be made that but for mass incarceration, this whole election might have turned out somewhat differently. This whole election might have turned out somewhat differently. And so we need each other. And it sometimes feels that we're asked to accept trickle-down justice. We reject trickle-down economics when the right wing tries to convince us that if you give all the money to rich people, we'll get some later. We reject trickle-down economics. But we also have to reject trickle-down justice. When you tell us, just shut up and be quiet and we'll pass good programs and you'll benefit, it sounds like trickle-down justice. Specific pain requires specific remedies. Specific problems need specific programs. We're not asking anymore in large numbers for reparations for slavery. We're not even asking for affirmative action programs. At this point, we're just saying, don't shoot our children down like dogs in the streets. That is not too much to ask. That is not too much to ask. That is not too much to ask from our allies. And stop making us apologize for defending our children. Stop making us apologize for defending our children. And stand with us. We stand with you. We stand with you on every issue. Stand with us. Stand with us. Be proud to do it. Be proud to do it. That's all we're asking. That's all we're asking. Not too much. Like the young folks say, no more booty call politics. Put a ring on it. You want us to be with you, we're with you. But be proud. Now that said, and I can walk through the other groups, the Latino community was specifically targeted by our opponents and vilified by our opponents consistently, persistently. But the Democrats did not consistently invest in the Latino community turnout. You had people in Florida who ran out of money trying to register voters, and the Democrats did not send one mumbling word of help to Latinos on the front line trying to register voters. So I could walk through the whole list. So please understand, when you ask us to be quiet, why we resist that. Now that said, because of my role on television, I've had the opportunity to go to some places that I hadn't gone to. I got a chance to go to West Virginia. I got a chance to go to the red parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan. I even went to the red farming counties in California. And I want to say something. As much love and compassion as our movement is characterized by, I think we may have drawn our circle too small sometimes. I do think that we may have drawn our circle too small. If you want to know where Trump outperformed even Mitt Romney, you don't have to do much more than ask yourself the question, where were the funerals? Where were the funerals? White men in America often wind up being a little bit of the rhetorical punching bag for liberals. And sometimes with good cause. I'm not saying there's not racism in the world. I hope you heard me earlier. But the only group in America whose life expectancy is getting shorter and not longer are white men in America. Now, they're still going to outlive me, but they're elevators in the wrong direction. White men, their life expectancy is getting shorter and not longer. You go to these small towns, painkiller epidemic. is killing more people in America than HIV and AIDS killed Americans at the height of the AIDS crisis. Now, I'm gonna be honest. At the height of the AIDS crisis, when people were dropping like flies and dying across this country, liberals were marching, we were fighting, we were challenging Big Pharma, we were challenging the medical industry to do something. You have an equal disaster, a bigger disaster happening in these small red towns and counties. The morgues are literally filling up. They have to bring in vans and trucks to store the bodies. And we've been quiet. Where Trump won was where the pain was present and progressives were not. We have to accept that. We have to accept that. We let them folks down. The last time I went to jail, James Sanders. And by the way, James Sanders sitting right there, right next to Rose. We got some, wait, give a round of applause. We got James Sanders and Rose right there on the front row. Now I'm nervous. I didn't know we had the big guns here. Welcome to you. The last time I went to jail, I didn't go to jail marching with Black Lives Matter. I went to jail marching with coal miners. I went to jail marching with coal miners. And I want to tell you a story about it because it changed my life. These coal miners, and you know I'm a green nut, so I'm not backing off of the need for real change when it comes to how we power our planet, but these coal miners are America's heroes. They go down in these holes 2 miles down to scrape out coal to keep the lights turned on for me and for you. And they make a bargain before they do it. They say, I'm gonna go down there, I'm gonna come back up with a modest paycheck. But if I have black lung disease, if I have lung cancer, if my body is broken, I'm gonna have a good pension and I'm gonna be able to see a doctor. And the coal company said, yes, that's true. And they sent them down there. And the coal companies have now conspired to tear up every one of their pensions and throw their health care in the garbage can. And so you have those folks who have been betrayed, working people, thrown under the bus by the same coal companies the environmentalists are fighting on the one side because they're hurting the planet, they're hurting people on the other. And no outcry from progressives. So I went down there just to try to show some solidarity. And they were marching. And at first I was like, am I gonna feel comfortable with the coal miners? Being an environmentalist, being a black guy, am I gonna feel comfortable? But they're marching. I know how to march. I'm good at marching. I've been marching a long time. And being from the Bay Area, I got chants. I know how to chant. In the Bay, we march and we chant. So I said, I got something to offer the rally. So I got out there and I said, hey, here's my chant. Y'all ready? I said, ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no. And then I noticed there wasn't nobody else chanting. This was awkward. So I tried to fire it up again. There ain't no power like the power of the people, cause the power of the... And so then I'm thinking, this is awkward, and maybe they're being rude to me, and maybe I shouldn't have come. And true story. One of the wives walked over to me. She gave me a pat on the elbow. She said, "Van, don't take it personally. They can't chant. They have black lung disease. They can't chant. They can't sing. That's why we're here." I don't care who they voted for. I don't care who they voted for. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that. I don't care who they voted for. It's wrong in America for people to be screwed over by corporations. I don't care who they voted for. What happened to that? What happened to us? We should be there for them. You want to vote against me? Go on and vote. Vote against me. Vote against me for 2, 3, 4 elections. But I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. I'll take you to vote against me, but I don't want you to die. We gotta be careful. We gotta be careful. A president has a spiritual grip on a country. When JFK was president, everybody wanted to join the Peace Corps. When Reagan was president, everybody wanted to go to Wall Street. When Obama was president, even the Republican Party gave up the fight against marriage equality. Now, Trump is president, and everybody's acting like a jackass. Including all too often us. We are never going to out-ugly Donald Trump. We're not going to out-divisive Donald Trump. We're not going to out-insult Donald Trump. But we can out-love him, and we can out-work him, and we can out-solidarity him and anybody else. That's what we do best. That's who we are. That's why we were born. That's what our movement is. Love is not a finite resource. Love is not a finite resource. Because of my job on TV, I've been to South Central Los Angeles. Poverty, addiction, high death rates. I've been down the Arizona border. Poverty, addiction, high death rates. West Virginia, poverty, addiction, high death rates. The red counties in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, poverty, addiction, high death rates, common pain. Common pain. Common pain should lead to common purpose. And common purpose should lead to common projects. And common projects should lead to common sense. And when you have common sense again, it turns out the elites in both parties have been tricking us and using us and turning us against each other. They say that the Democrats haven't done anything about poor people in the cities. Well, the Republicans haven't done anything about poor people in the counties. And yet they keep us fighting against each other. The challenge that we have is to demonstrate what happens when instead of turning on each other in a crisis, we turn to each other. See, that's what we have to be able to demonstrate, not talk about, but demonstrate. So I want to say that I'm proud. I'm proud to be a part of this movement. I'm proud to be a part of the Dream Corps, where I work, the Dream Corps. We're working on criminal justice issues and working with Republicans and Democrats to get it done, because I've never met anybody in jail who said, get me out of here, but please don't work with no Republicans. That's not what they say. They say, get me out of here. So I'm proud to be working at the Dream Corps with Jessica Jackson and Cut 50, reaching out, trying to find common purpose where there's common pain. I'm proud to be working with Vian Trump at Green for All, trying to get solar panels to the hood. And Yes We Code, trying to open up Silicon Valley to more people. But I'm also proud that the Love Army worked side by side with the coal miners and won back for them last month health care benefits for 20,000 coal miners. 20,000 coal miners who can go see a doctor because progressives put down the nonsense and reached out and helped somebody. I'm proud to be a part of this movement. I'm proud to be a part of a movement that includes people like Reverend Barber, that includes people like Ajahn Poo, that includes people like Maria Teresa Kumar, Gihan Pereira. By the way, one of the best activists in the history of our movement, Gihan Pereira, just got a job at the Ford Foundation to try to figure all this stuff out at the state level. Give Gihan Pereira a round of applause. The Ford Foundation is about to do something. I'm proud. I'm proud. It would have been very easy for everybody in this room not to get out of bed this morning, let alone in November. You are the people who, when it was very difficult, long before there was a Bernie Sanders, long before there was an Occupy Wall Street, long before there was a Black Lives Matter, long before there was an Elizabeth Warren, long before it was all right to dream of a bigger, better outcome for America. You were out there when it was hard. You were out there when it was weird. You were out there when you would get called all kind of names, like crazy. Well, you are kind of crazy. That's all right. That's all right. But you kept alive a candle. Some of you going all the way back to the 60s, when it was dark. And you had a dawn right in your fingertips and had it stolen away. Stolen away. And it'd be very easy for you to stay home and give up. And a lot of people have. But you haven't. So to the extent that there's hope in the country, still, a big chunk of it is right here in this room. And to the extent that there's an opportunity and a possibility to turn a breakdown into a breakthrough, a lot of it exists in this room. And to the extent that you still have mothers out there grieving, to the extent that you still have too many funerals in the red states, to the extent that you still have a planet starting to bake and come apart, all of those people would be comforted to know that you haven't given up and that you are not going to become the thing you are fighting. You are not going to feed the divisiveness and the hatred and the disrespect that you are fighting. That you are going to put your love against these other people's hate. We're going to put our hope against their fear. We're going to put our compassion against their cold hearts. Our pink hats against their barbed wire. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win. Thank you very much. We're going to win. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, people.